What is a man? A miserable little pair of secrets. But enough talk. Let's review. 'Tis I, ladies and gentlemen, Count Dracula. And the reason why I'm here is because Multivoice Reviewer, he's kinda busy right now, so I decided to do review for today. You know, I haven't done a review for a long time, so I thought now would be better. Do any of you remember back then when I reviewed the Castlevania video games when I first appeared? You remember the whole series of Castlevania. But right now, I'm going to talk about the Castlevania game that I played. It took me about 3 days for me to finish it. And this time, this Castlevania, you play as me, Dracula. I am Dracula, Count Dracula, Nosferatu, Lord of the Vampires, Prince of Darkness. And I would destroy any evil being who thinks they are much evil than I am. But before I get to the game that I played for 3 days, let's do a little backstory, shall we? I remember that I reviewed this game, Castlevania Lord of Shadows. Now, a lot of people used to say that this is like a God of War kind of game. And of course, Multiverse Reviewer, he played that game pretty good, since it's based on Greek mythologies, and, well, I am very familiar with Greek mythologies. Heck, I met Medusa, and had her stay in my castle, along with all the other Greek creatures that I allowed in my castle in Transylvania. But one thing is really surprising about this about this game, you play Gabriel Belmont. And one thing is very neat about this game, that you don't destroy Dracula in this one, you destroy the devil himself, the Lord of Darkness, Satan. And of course, throughout the entire journey, his old friend, played by Patrick Stewart, Zebek, turns out to be a necromancer. It's a kind of a sorcerer who specializes on raising the dead. And it turns out that he betrayed Gabriel because he controlled him to kill his own wife, Marie. And that's why he feels so bad over her death. Sure is raining outside. But as a vampire, I don't mind the rain. As long as it ain't raining holy water. I'm good. And of course, the big surprise of all, after you play Gabriel and you destroyed Zebek, and then you battle against Satan, at the end of the credits you discover that Gabriel Belmont was Dracula all along. And that's why they made this sequel that I played. Castlevania Lords of Shadow Part 2. In this one, you don't play any of the Belmont members, any of the Belmont family. You play Dracula himself. And the reason why, because Zebek, his old friend, had returned. And the reason why he's bringing him out from his coffin is because Satan's followers are planning to bring Satan back from hell, so he can bring hell on earth. And that's why he had to bring Dracula back, because he's the only person they know who was tough enough to defeat Satan himself. And of course, they bring back a lot of reference of all the other games. Now, of course, some of you are gonna remind me about this run game they made called Mirror of Fate. It's more of a between stories where it shows how Gabriel became Dracula and how he became Lord of the Vampires. And of course, you also can play Simon Belmont, the most memorable main character of the Castlevania franchise, and also Alucard. Now, of course, if you don't know who they are, I guess you see, according to the story, they also mention a few historical characters from the old game. Like his castle was owned by Walter Bernhardt instead of Dracula. And they mentioned that from this game, Limit of Innocence, where you don't fight Dracula, you fight Walter Bernhardt, the vampire, who's a ruler of Castlevania. Or Transylvania, Castlevania, whatever. And of course you discover that his best friend turns out to be Dracula, Matthias Kronkvist. And that was the only reference they referenced from this game in Lords of Shadow Partour. Now here's one thing I do have a problem. They did say, according to legend, that Gabriel has a son. And his son is named Trevor Belmont. Now, who Trevor Belmont is? Well, he was the prequel hero from this game, Castlevania Curse of Dracula. Dracula's Curse, of course. But of course, it kind of bugs me a bit, because on the Lords of Shadow Part 2, they say that Dracula killed Trevor Belmont, discovering that he was his own son, so he put some blood into Trevor Belmont, and therefore turned into Alucard. Alucard is the son of Dracula. And of course, I know that some of you are familiar with the name Alucard. They got that from Son of Dracula, the movie, where if you take Dracula, and if you put it backwards, it's Alucard. But of course, sadly, that's one thing is a big problem to me. In this game, Trevor met Alucard in this one. But they decided to drop this idea completely and keep the name. And then they say that Alucard, and of course a lot of you remember this, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where you play Alucard in this one. And they say it was the best Castlevania game, and I have to agree, it is the best game ever. But anyway, back to this game. They also say in the story that there's another descendant named Simon Belmont, who don't even know that Alucard was his father, and Dracula was his great-great-grandfather. And they both killed Dracula, and Dracula had been risen from his summoning. And of course, throughout the entire game, you start to discover that you discover that your son Alucard is there to help you to defeat Satan once again. Because if Satan ruled Earth, it would be like hell on Earth. And that is something which I cannot permit. Anyway, a lot of people say this wasn't a very good video game, but I say pooey on that. It is a very good game. So those of you who have this game, you should try it. And if you want to know the backstory, play this one, so you can get him turned into Dracula at the end. And also play Mirror of Fate to get more of the backstory it involves in this one. Anyway, one thing I have to say, it's not often you play a Castlevania game where you play the main villain itself, Dracula, and you destroy Satan in this one. It was a very exciting and very fascinating video game. And as me, Lord of the Vampire, I say, this was very nice. Kind of reminds me of a certain vampire video game I once played. I mean, it is a little similar to it. called Legacy of Kain. But of course, that's another video game I'll review to you next time. Probably another time. But for now, I want to talk to you about Castlevania. So you better watch this video and enjoy. And it's a very good experience being Dracula. Trust me. I know. But of course there's another villain I want to destroy, besides Satan. Ever heard of this video game called Silent Hill? They say it's way more creepier than Castlevania. And there's one villainous bad guy in the game that I want to kill. And his name is Pyramid Head. One of these days, I will find this Pyramid Head and bite him and suck all his fluid from within him. And I'll probably rule Silent Hill. Anyway, there's lots to do. I need to get going. I think Mr. Multiverse Reviewer is ready to get things ready for his next review soon. Something that he promised to review for you. I don't know what it is, so don't ask me. So if you excuse me, I'm gonna go to Silent Hill. Good evening.